I never believed in skinwalkers. To me, they were just ancient tales, ghost stories to scare people away from the desert's deep, uninhabitable corners. But after what I experienced in Arizona, I can't deny their existence any longer. Last summer, I decided to take a solo road trip across the Southwest. The vast desert landscapes, red rocks, and endless sky called to me, offering an escape from my routine. On the second night of my trip, I found myself driving deep into Navajo territory. It was late, and I hadn't planned on staying out that long. But time seemed to slip away as I explored remote roads that cut through the endless desert. The silence was unnerving. No cars, no people, just the hum of my engine and the darkness that swallowed everything around me. I checked my GPS, there was no signal. I felt a twinge of unease but shrugged it off. I'd always been a bit of a thrill seeker. I soon realized I was low on gas and spotted a flickering neon light in the distance. A small, run-down gas station. Relieved, I pulled in and noticed how eerily quiet it was. No attendant, no sound other than the soft rustle of the desert wind. After filling up, I heard a faint voice, almost a whisper. "You shouldn't be here." I spun around, and an old Navajo woman, wrapped in a tattered shawl, stood behind me. Her eyes, dark and glassy, seemed to look right through me. "Skinwalker country," she said, her voice cracking. "You need to leave now." I laughed nervously. "A skinwalker? You mean like a witch or something?" Her gaze didn't waver. "Not a witch. Something worse. It wears faces that aren't its own." Unsettled, I thanked her and drove off, but her words clung to me. As I drove further into the night, the desert became even more oppressive, the black sky pressing down on me. I glanced in my rearview mirror and froze. A figure stood on the side of the road, illuminated briefly by my taillights. It wasn't human. The shape was twisted, too tall, too thin, with long, bony arms that reached toward the sky. Its face was all wrong, too, like it was wearing a mask stretched over something grotesque beneath. I slammed on the brakes, but when I looked again, it was gone. My heart pounded as I sped up, desperate to put distance between me and whatever I'd just seen. But something was wrong. My car. There was a sound coming from under the hood, like a grinding, metallic groan. Just as panic set in, the engine cut off, leaving me stranded in the middle of nowhere. I grabbed my flashlight and stepped out of the car, every hair on my neck standing on end. The desert stretched out in all directions, barren and silent, except for the faint shuffle of footsteps. I wasn't alone. I scanned the horizon with the flashlight, my breath quickening. Suddenly, the beam landed on a figure crouched in the distance, something humanoid but off. Its movements too fast, too erratic. It seemed to glide across the sand, its limbs contorting unnaturally. I stumbled back toward the car, but before I could reach the door, the figure was in front of me. My flashlight flickered, revealing its grotesque face, half human, half beast. Its skin seemed to shift and stretch, like it was wearing the flesh of someone else, not its own. The thing spoke in a voice that wasn't human, its words garbled, a twisted mockery of speech. "Leave, now." I bolted for the car, slamming the door behind me, but the engine refused to start. The thing outside clawed at the windows, its distorted face pressing against the glass, eyes hollow and empty. I don't remember how, but the car finally roared to life. I sped off, my heart racing, tears blurring my vision. I didn't stop until I reached a small town miles away, collapsing in a motel room, shaking and gasping for breath. The next day, I returned to the gas station. I needed answers, but when I arrived, it was boarded up, abandoned, like no one had been there for years. I left Arizona the next morning, vowing never to return. To this day, I don't know what I saw that night, but now I believe the stories. Skinwalkers are real, and whatever is out there, lurking in the Arizona desert, it's waiting for the next unlucky traveler who strays too far into the dark.